Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the fantasy baseball world lately, the starting pitcher chart from August 7th, 2026. Now, I know what you're thinking, another chart breakdown? How exciting can that be? But trust me, this one's a goldmine for anyone trying to navigate the complexities of starting pitchers in fantasy leagues. What makes this really interesting is how it blends raw stats with matchup analysis, giving us a clearer picture of who's worth rostering and who's a risky bet. Personally, I think this kind of data is a game changer, especially when you're in those deeper leagues where every decision counts. First off, let's talk about Zack Wheeler at the top of the chart. No surprise there, right? Wheeler's been a stud all season, but what's fascinating is his matchup against Toronto. The Blue Jays have a WOBA of just .240 against right-hand pitchers, which is music to any fantasy manager's ears. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about Wheeler's skill, it's about how his strengths align with his opponent's weaknesses. One thing that immediately stands out is his KBB percent, sitting at 26%. That's elite territory, and it's a big reason why he's a must-start in any league format. Now, let's shift gears to someone like Ronel Blanco, who's ranked 17th. Blanco's ERA is a whopping 7.36, and he's only pitched 14.2 innings. What many people don't realize is that players like Blanco often fly under the radar because of their limited sample size, but their underlying metrics can tell a different story. His 26% K percent is impressive, but that 13% KBB percent is a red flag. In my opinion, he's a high-risk, high-reward play, especially in deeper leagues. But here's the kicker, he's facing the Padres, who have a WOBA of .322 against righties. That's a tough matchup, and it raises a deeper question, is Blanco's upside worth the potential ratio hit? Another detail I find fascinating is the rise of Peyton Toley. This lefty for the Red Sox is ranked 4th, and his numbers are solid across the board. What this really suggests is that Toley might be one of those under-the-radar guys who's poised for a breakout. His 27% K percent and 20% KBB percent are nothing to sneeze at, and he's facing the Athletics, who have a WOBA of .250 against lefties. From my perspective, Toley is a sneaky good start, especially in 12-team or deeper leagues. But here's where it gets tricky, his whip is 1.15, which isn't terrible but isn't great either. It's a reminder that even the best matchups can come with caveats. Now, let's talk about the color coding system: green, yellow, and red. It's a simple yet effective way to gauge matchups, but I think it's often misunderstood. Green doesn't mean you auto-start, and red doesn't mean bench at all costs. It's more about context. For example, Max Fried is ranked 6th and has a yellow matchup against the Yankees. On paper, that's not ideal, but Fried's track record gives him a bit more leeway. What this really suggests is that you can't rely solely on color coding, you need to factor in a pitcher's skill set and recent performance. Finally, let's touch on the deeper implications of this chart. Fantasy baseball is all about making informed decisions, and this chart is a treasure trove of insights. But it also highlights the importance of not overreacting to small sample sizes or single matchups. Personally, I think the key is to use this data as a starting point, not the final word. If you're in a 15-team league and desperate for a stream, someone like Zach Thornton, ranked 13th, might be worth a shot despite his limited innings. But in a 10-team league? Maybe not so much. So, what's the big takeaway here? This chart isn't just a list of names and numbers, it's a tool for storytelling. It tells us about pitchers who are thriving, pitchers who are struggling, and pitchers who are somewhere in between. What makes this really interesting is how it forces us to think critically about our rosters. Are we chasing strikeouts or protecting ratios? Are we playing it safe or taking calculated risks? These are the questions that make fantasy baseball so compelling. As we wrap up, I'll leave you with this: the next time you're staring at a starting pitcher chart, don't just skim the rankings. Dig into the matchups, the metrics, and the context. Because in fantasy baseball, the devil's in the details. And who knows? Maybe the next breakout star is hiding in plain sight, waiting for you to uncover them. Let me know in the comments, Who's your sleeper pick from this chart? I'm all ears.